There's a big, thick wooden door. Hostage taker with baby in arms, locked door, and NYPD, they come, start banging on the door, open up, and they hear on the other side, this gentleman is ranting and raving. How do you tactically appreciate? If you and I are negotiating, I want to understand your perspective to get the appreciation. But people often stop there. And they say, you know what? What's your first name? Karuna. So I could say, you know what, Karuna, I understand everything about what you and what your business needs are. You keep pressing me, I understand it, and maybe I do cognitively understand. But if the next words out of my mouth are, but I think you're totally crazy. There's no way that we can provide the rate that you are asking. Cognitively, get it. Emotionally, do you feel appreciated? Absolutely no. We've lost that subjective, but very real objective value. The essence to me of appreciating, it's this. Finding merit. Finding value in what the other person thinks, or feels, or does, and then thirdly, letting them know in some culturally appropriate way. Sounds easy. Tough to do in practice. So part of the work I do is in hostage negotiation, crisis negotiation. So I've worked with the New York Police Department's hostage negotiation team, worked with the FBI's International Crisis Kidnapping Unit, thought we might think through an example together. Based upon a real situation, happened now a number of years back. I wasn't directly involved, I've advised those who were. And I ask you to listen carefully because I might call on you without that hand raised to get your advice in the situation. But true story. There was a gentleman about 26 years old, clearly suffering from deep mental illness, schizophrenia, delusions of grandeur. And just a side note, one of my home institutions, McLean Hospital, will tell you with its research very clearly, most people suffering from even deep mental illness are not violent. The media can make it seem that way, it's just not true. According to the research and the data, this gentleman had a proclivity toward violence. He was there in New York City in the subway platform, just wandering around, and he spots a woman. He sees a woman, about 20 years old, she's carrying a baby in her arms. He sees this woman, he runs up to the woman, he grabs the baby out of her arms. He pushes the woman into the subway platform, runs off, subway tracks, runs off into the janitor's closet, locks the door behind him. Hostage negotiators get there about 5 minutes later. Now, there's a big, thick wooden door. Hostage taker with baby in arms, locked door, and NYPD, they come, start banging on the door, open up, and they hear on the other side, this gentleman is ranting and raving. If this child is an angel, I will love him. If this child is a demon, you know what I have to do? If this child is an angel, I love him, child's a demon, and on he is ranting. Hostage negotiators banging louder and louder, concerned about this baby's life. And does this approach work? Does it, yes or no, does it work? No. Of course not. Because what are we failing to do as hostage negotiators at a very fundamental level? Banging on the door, what are we failing to do? All this stuff. Is there any understanding? No. Even if we do understand, are we communicating our understanding of the value of his perspective? And no, and this situation predictably escalates. If this child is an angel, I will love him. If this child is a demon, you know what I have to do? If this child is an angel, what are you going to say now, sir? What are you going to say? If this child is an angel, I will love the child. I'm going to kill this child in 3 seconds if you don't say something. If this child is an angel, I will... That was 3 seconds. You have just killed this child. Yeah. What? You couldn't get a word in fair. Welcome to reality in these situations. What did you, but I heard you then say something. Why'd you take the baby? I don't know, because if this child is an angel, I will love this child's a demon. You know what I have to do? And what are you going to say now? People hate sitting in this area. Like, oh no, here he comes. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? How do I feel? Oh, I feel scared for the world right now. If this child is an angel, I will love him. If this child is a demon, you know, say it again.
Child is an angel.
Beautiful. Who said it? I heard it. Say it loud so everybody can hear.
Child is an angel.
Do not worry. The child is an angel. And this is almost exactly what the team said on the other side of the door. Do not worry. This child is an angel. Beautiful. Beautiful idea. How many of you, your instincts moved in this direction? you were going to say something like that. Don't worry, the child is an angel. Raise your hands. Where are you? Amazing. And how many of you think it worked? Raise your hands. Because it didn't. Did not. Because the moment the team said, do not worry, the child is an angel, what do you think the response was?
I'm worried.
How do you know? How do you know this child is an angel? You said there were 3 people on the other side of the door. How many people are really on the other side of the door? And all of a sudden, we now made precisely the opposite error that we had made 3 minutes ago in this room, several hours earlier in real life. At first, banging on the door. No appreciation, pure interrogation. And now, in this room, but 3 minutes later, we're way on this other side of appreciation, in a sense, over-appreciating. Assuming we know more about this, what's going on in this hostage taker's mind than he knows. That's a dangerous place to be. I mean, even in everyday situations, your spouse says, I cannot believe you. You say, I know exactly how angry you are. Oh, do you? Welcome to the real world of over-appreciation. But we were stuck. Stuck, the team took a break and ultimately went back to the bare bone basics of effective negotiation. You do this all the time. Listening. But are you listening as well as you could? And asking those good, open-ended questions. What do you want? How can we help you? And I ignored some of you asking those kinds of questions. A lot of you did. But how can we help you? Talk to us. And the moment we started asking those kinds of questions, we started to learn. We started to learn this gentleman was not out to destroy the earth, he was out to save it. And that was all the information we really needed. Because now we come back and say, look, I'm NYPD, I don't see the angels you see. I don't see the demons you see. But I hear you saying you're trying to save the world. And you know what? Our own small way here at NYPD, we're trying to save the world too. So why don't you open up that door and see if we can try and save this world together. And literally 3 minutes later, that squeaky door opens up. Out walks that gentleman, baby in arms, but boy, was it a challenge. It is wonderfully easy to appreciate your spouse on an anniversary. It is very different when you are in there negotiating a heated internal negotiation within your bank, within your institution. Absolutely, we should go this way. Absolutely, this way. Can you appreciate at that moment while not being weak or being seen as weak? That's the challenge. And that's really, to me, the opportunity. That's appreciation in its deeper sense. Yes, it's gratitude to a client, but it is so much more than just that.